Are we live?
Now we're
Are we
live.
We
there?
are live.
Okay. That's okay. We'll cut that in post.
That's going to be our catchphrase from now on. Welcome back to Dragons Live. I'm Coach Will. First time on the show, Coach Megan. Today we're going to be talking about how to ace an interview, things that you probably don't know. And then, of course, as always, we're joined by Coach Elijah. Elijah, why don't you tell everybody briefly about Dancing Dragons and Dancing Dragons Live, and then we can hop on into the topic for today.
Of course. So this is Dancing Dragons Live. This is dancingdragons.cc. We're a coaching collective. We're a new company that matches clients looking for life coaching and all different kinds of coaching that goes along with it with the perfect coach for them. So you can find out more information about Dancing Dragons at dancingdragons.cc. The CC stands for Coaching Collective. This is our weekly live show. Eventually, it will feature audience interaction with call-ins and interactive comments, super chats, that kind of stuff. For the time being, we don't have the biggest audience. We're just getting started. So we're turning into panels with real coaches where you can get real information for real life situations. And since today, this week is graduation week, we thought it would be the perfect time to talk about how to ace an interview. And so there's a lot of people about to be running out into the workforce. That is why they call it commencement. That means like the beginning, like the start in French. So let's go, Will. What do you guys say?
Well, we're going to just take this in chronological order, right? So we're assuming for the sake of this video that you've gotten your qualifications in whatever field or, technical certifications, wherever you want to go. You've gotten that already. But why don't we start with the resume? I'd like Coach Megan's thoughts on that. But also my background too, I've done retail management. I've worked as a recruiter. I think if you put a little splash of color on your resume, it really helps stand out. You don't want something all, but I have like a nice little slither on mine, which at first was a cool shade of purple. But then I realized blue, when talking about color psychology, blue is a trusting color. So when I go on my first interviews, I also wear blue so that they'll be hopefully more trusting of me. So there's that. And then also some of the things on your resume. One other quick fact too is I had to learn this again recently in the last couple of years. Before I used to put my name, my address, my phone number. You just want to make yourself a little proton mail, maybe with your first initial, right? Something professional. Because nowadays people on Indeed and the scammers, they can take all that. So what's your thoughts on just overall best resume practices, Coach Megan? And thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. For background, I have a BA in conflict resolution, a theater minor. I've always loved conflict creativity and being able to use that in everyday interactions. So I'm really excited to be here with Dancing Dragons. In terms of resume, I love the color tip. I haven't thought about that, but it reminded me of Legally Blonde when she had like a pink resume and it was scented.
Yeah.
So I do agree with it being shorter and sweet, reminding yourself that people will only spend a couple seconds looking at it. So if they should be able to know what you want to do, like a quick elevator pitch idea just by a quick glance at it, because you want to be remembered. And I agree with the address thing, maybe not putting that, but maybe putting your LinkedIn profile and maybe like a quick intro statement at the front as like an objective or mission statement.
Elijah, what do you have to say? But before we throw to Elijah, any best practices on mission statements? Maybe not one specifically, but like what are you looking for when you're writing a mission statement or your objective at your top of your resume there?
You're asking me?
Yeah. Before we throw
Okay. I guess wherever you can embrace your authenticity, what you want to do, but also tailor it with the job description. So any way that you can make it the best for you, but the best for them and not compromising either side, something short and sweet. So if you want to be a coach, talking about optimal life or connecting, things like that. That would be my 2 cents for a mission statement. And I don't think that's always necessary. I feel like you should be able to look at a resume and know, oh, this is what she wants to do.
Yeah, totally agree. It should be
Yeah,
abundantly.
and just to stamp that point there, like I think authenticity is like a real important thing. But when you're doing things like mission statements, a lot of these things can come off as canned, right? And it's hard to make a mission statement that's like professional and it doesn't come off as like canned, right? And so I would just look for like
Canned?
you canned, like
Yeah.
it's like yeah.
Corny.
Um, so what I would say is like look for things that are professional but almost like unique to you, right? And it's going to be hard, like something that's kind of like maybe slightly out of the box. My idea with resumes and interviews is that you want yourself to stand out, not too much, but stand out in like a way where they're like, okay, we got to know this person, right? Like that's what's really going to make you stand out. And so there's I definitely like the color idea. I put color in my resume. I just have blue lines on it though that like separate things, and it's just like a little tiny bit of color, nothing
Purple
great.
for me.
Yeah. So, but but what I would say is like there are ways to stand out that kind of goes too far, and you'll get attention, but it might not be in a good way, right? So, for instance, I got a resume one time, and it looked like somebody had spilt coffee all over it, and it looked like crumpled and stuff, and I was like, "What the?" And I picked it up, and it was all just an image that was put on the resume paper, right? And the person was like a graphic design person. But it looked great. Like I showed everybody I knew this resume. I was like, look at this thing. This is all just like a picture. It doesn't like it looked all messed up, but it was regular paper, right? The guy did a fantastic job, but I was like, this isn't a graphic design job. He needs to go do graphic design. Like, I don't know, So
Yeah.
definitely make sure that your resume is congruent with the job that you're applying. I know when you're applying for a lot of jobs, sometimes in different fields, it's daunting to change this or that inside your resume, but it's very, very necessary, especially if it's like a really like take at least like your 3 favorite jobs that you're applying for and make sure that you customize your resume to speak to that interviewer, because that will make a big difference.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. And then just to piggyback on that point briefly before we get to the next point, is with this, like it or not, this is a service-based economy. And so a lot of the things, maybe you're somebody that wants to do retail or banking, or maybe you want to be a server. A lot of those skills are the same type of skills. And it doesn't take, because it is a pain in the butt to modify it, right? But a lot of it is just switching a few things and maybe your mission statement around, because those skills will transfer. But yeah, you're absolutely right, because you will miss out on a lot of them if you just don't tweak that. So that's a great coach point there, Coach Eli. And then just the next point is close. These are things like interview prep before you even get there. I'm a firm believer that you should dress, very professionally, at least with a blazer, at least a shirt, a button-up shirt, a tie. How do you feel about that for women, Coach Megan? And or just the idea of how you should, I mean, obviously even, and I'll say this lastly before I pass it over to Coach Megan, but even if you're going to a job, like let's say I wanted to be a foreman or at a company, or even I wanted to be a manager at Hot Topic, I would still present myself like this probably. And I know there's exceptions, but what's your take on just overall? Because this is a new era now, right? Because everybody wears t-shirt and jeans. So let's start again with Coach Megan. But yeah, what do you think about attire, and then specifically for women too?
It's funny because of the resume point, it kind of reminded me of fashion as well. It's kind of like tailoring your outfit for each job for your resume. It's like tailoring. And I feel like it's the same for dressing up the part. At the same time, like you said, I think there should always be an air of professionalism. As much as I love fashion, I'm a fashionista. I feel like you can never go wrong with a pantsuit. Always make sure that it fits well, it's not wrinkled. A little tip that I got a while back is if you're wearing like a black suit, not to wear white socks. And if it rides up, it's kind of just one little thing like, doesn't seem as like crisp. And it could be little things for different kinds of jobs. But I think you're right. There's always kind of a formal interview that has some kind of suit or blazer. Everything looks ironed as if, you would be the person in charge. Like you should exude that, if that makes sense. So I think women, it's trickier because we have all these like, maybe not sleeveless, maybe not open toed, but at the same time, I think you can tailor it as best as you can, having that same mindset that it has to be generally.
And let me make it simpler for the women. Just wear a pantsuit, right? So I know, right? So like business professional, like for men is very easy, right? It's like, you know, jacket, tie, and like whatever goes along with that, you know, goes. Like obviously if you show up without a belt, I don't know what to tell you, right? But like it's pretty simple. Every guy knows what they're supposed to wear exactly. For women, they give enough rope for them to like hang themselves, right? Because it's like, well, this could also be business professional, right? And then, you know, your friends are like, oh yeah, that's great. And then you go, and here's the thing. It's not that it's not business professional. Like if you wore it to like every day at work or whatever, it might work. But for a job interview, it gives somebody, especially if you're like doing an interview by committee or something, which happens a lot, right? It gives the person that, like a person that likes you the least, like an opening to attack you. Be like, they didn't even dress appropriately. And other people will be like, no, that wasn't bad. And they'll be like, no, are you kidding me? Did you see like you can't wear shoes like that to a job? Like, you know, it just gives them that excuse. So just dress all the way up and you'll never have that problem.
Exactly. And that's what we're here to kind of talk about, is just making sure that there's no chinks in your armor, right? We're not trying to give them anything to say, oh, well, your resume was crap or you didn't, right? I mean, obviously, and I'll tell you too, like just dressing up goes so far, especially in today's day and age. People that I've coached, and even in myself, when I go to them, wow, oh, thank you, you look so sharp, thank you for dressing. Like, because nowadays, and I can't tell you on the flip side how many people have come to me looking for a job. Like Coach Megan says, their clothes aren't even ironed. Is y'all hiring? Like it's crazy, right? And just that little thing, doing that little extra, not only puts up a defense for you, but it gives you that extra little edge too. So.
And for men, just a real side note, because again, with men, it's pretty easy, but two things: double Winsler knot, okay? No Trinity knot. Leave that garbage at home, okay? Double Winsler, no Trinity, never the Trinity. Don't do it. It doesn't look good. Nobody thinks it's professional. Don't do it. All right.
Gotta remember that one for my male friends.
Yeah, and you know, a lot. I mean, even the people that do go, they're not. If they wear a blazer, they're not wearing a tie. So if you do that, and you're just literally putting yourself a little bit over, and what that also doing is, it's all psychology, right? And like Elijah said, people are trying to get to know you, and one of the things they're going to know about you is if you show up with a good resume, early but not too early, and you got nice clothes on, maybe even spray a little bit of cologne, not too much, you know what I'm saying? Make sure your hygiene's good, you got some breath mints. And the next two things before we kind of get into it too, I'd like Elijah to start us off with this one, but your mindset. And then if you could talk about your mindset going into it, and then if you could kick it over to Coach Megan, please.
Sure. This is just mindset going into it. I think that we will get more into the mindset during the interview, right? But like your mindset going into it, and this is like a key thing, right? If you've ever interviewed people, right? And a lot of people that watch this video might not have, right? But you have to understand that the interviewer wants you to be the perfect candidate. They don't want you, like they're not looking for you to mess up. They're looking for you to fulfill all the things that they want so they can stop interviewing people. They want to find the right candidate. And so if you have that mentality, it changes the game for you, right? Just have that confidence that that's what they're looking for. And by the way, this also works for first dates, right? So it's like your date wants you to be the person of their dreams, right? Like that's what they want. And you should think about that before you go on the date.
That's
right?
the whole.
Will, you keep cutting out on my end. I don't know. Megan, can you hear him?
I can hear you both, just kind of like you're both excited. So
right. That's a light way of telling Will to shut up. All right, go ahead, Elijah.
No. Like literally no audio was coming through from you. So I don't know.
Well, I heard him. It was just like
okay.
overlapping.
Okay.
But I like your point. I love the analogy about the first date. I mean, it's so true. I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. But yeah, just in terms of mindset, just really remembering you are the prize, you know? Like, yes, it's nerve-wracking and it's good to have those nerves, but at the same time, Like, you want the job, you want to be the person they need while maintaining being true to yourself. And I just feel like if you really go in preparing your best, whether that's research, doing meditation or something like that beforehand, you can go in and just remember, this is an exchange of information. It's not am I worth it to you, or you worth it to me? It's just supposed to be a fit, and to not try to take anything too personally, even though it's so hard, especially nowadays with everything going on, just to not take it personally. But remember, it's a mutually beneficial transaction.
Exactly, Megan. Yeah, you make great points. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, and they have so much anxiety about it. But at the end of the day, they're hiring. They want people, and they want competent people. So you show up and you even portray yourself as competent. And one of the other points that you hit on, I think, is so important, which I was completely going to forget, but is to do your research, right? So if you're looking for a company, do bare minimum research, right? Which I would say is bare minimum, which is Wikipedia page, the about us on the company's website. You want to know that. And what I try to do is in every interview, right? I interviewed 6-8 months, maybe even way longer ago, for a company with Brooks Brothers, right? And I ultimately chose another position, but I was like, hey, well, if Brooks Brothers is good enough for Abraham Lincoln, and I brought up the random fact that they have, and then that really impressed them. It shows that you're here and you're doing your research. So another great point, Megan. Yeah, Elijah, do you have some more that you wanted to add on that?
No, I think that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I'm not big into research. I'm also, and again, you gotta be yourself. And actually, I have another point. Like, don't just be yourself. Be the best version of yourself, right? That being said, like, you have to be congruent. Like, the way that you portray yourself, the way that you act, you have to be genuine to yourself. I feel like a lot of people try to be something that they're not in job interviews, and that makes them squirm, and then people get weird vibes, even though you might say all the right things and you might actually perform well under that pressure. There's still this underlining vibe that something was off with that guy. I don't know, right? So so just really try to be genuine. And I think radical honesty about stuff. If they ask you what do you know about this company, and you don't know stuff, don't try to squirm out an answer. Just be like, honestly, I've been applying to so many places. I wasn't able to do much research, but I'm very interested in learning, right? And just be honest about it. That works well with me just because of the way I am. I know I can understand some people wouldn't feel comfortable talking that way. And if you're not honest about it, don't say it. But I don't know. So that's my general idea, is just be honest and try to be genuine to yourself. Don't try to act like you're some Brooks Brothers enthusiast if you're not a Brooks Brothers enthusiast, right?
Counter you briefly, though. I think you're absolutely right. Be honest. Don't lie about something or put yourself in a bad situation. You always want to be very straightforward, especially in these interviews. But also, I mean, yes, we do apply to a bunch of jobs. It's so easy nowadays. You can just copy and, just put your resume and send it to, hundreds, dozens of people at the same time, or whatever it is. But also, if you are going to have an interview, I would say, and you're serious about getting that job, I would say, I mean, it might work for Coach Eli with his flowing locks, but take 15 minutes, do a Wikipedia search, do a Google search, right? You know what I'm saying? And just check out some basic things. You don't have to know the whole company's history, but learn a couple fun facts. Maybe learn where they were found, something that can apply. I think that goes a long way.
And Coach Will, just to throw a shot over your bow here, right? Let's be honest. A lot of people watching this video, they're not going to do that research. So what do you do if you don't, right? And what I'm saying is just be radically honest, right? Yeah, I mean, if you're applying to 15 different places, you're not going to research every company.
The website,
I search the ones you're going to interview at.
You can. I mean, I'm just saying, you can, right? I'm just saying, people are going to get themselves in the hot water. I'm just saying, if you haven't done the research, be honest about it. I almost never do the research. It's never been a problem for me. I'm not going to lie, right? So, and I'm always just honest about it. I'm I didn't look anything up on it.
Well, luckily that's worked out. And so that's what we do here, is we give you different opinions. We give you Elijah's opinion, and then Coach Megan and I the correct opinion. And so you can just suss it out between.
and by the way, I did say, look, like do what you can handle. Like I know I can get away with it. I'm not saying that everybody can, but if you can, you know, whatever. So,
Well, it's good you know that about yourself, right? We all have our own special sauce that only we can get away with. And then the right job, it will fit at the right job. It won't at the wrong job. So I totally hear you.
Of the overall message that you have is this is really like it's two different parties looking for something mutual, right? It's not somebody's on a higher pedestal, and I think that's very important to go into it looking at that way. Pardon me. And I guess the last thing before we actually arrive at the interview would be what you do on the way there. We're all different levels. Some people are extroverts, some are introverts, some are extroverted introverts, and vice versa, and all that, right? So me personally, I don't have a difficult time warming up and being social for the most part, but some people might. Starting with Coach Megan, would you have any ideas? Maybe play some music or something that you like. You have any idea for maybe introverted people or people that have a more difficult time warming up socially?
Yeah, of course. So as someone that used to be an extreme introvert and now I'm an extreme extrovert, I feel like there are definitely different things that you can do. I think depending on how calm you feel, if you're feeling really nervous, maybe you should be listening to music or doing something to calm you down. But at the same time, if you're feeling like you're ready and everything, maybe it wouldn't hurt to look at the website one last time or look at research, Google, best questions to ask an interview right before. I think depending on how you feel should take precedence, because if you're all prepared with all the research, but you're having a meltdown, that might not work out and vice versa. But for me personally, I always like to spend last moments kind of looking at the website and everything, but that's because I can easily warm up and kind of just dive in there. But I think it definitely depends on the person.
I would actually, hopefully,
that makes sense.
Yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense. And unfortunately, this is not the topic of tonight's show, but maybe in a future show, we could have Coach Megan explain how she went from an introvert to an extrovert. And I would have never guessed that you were introverted. You're a very good speaker, and you have a lot of confidence. You're very direct and good cadence. So never guessed that. So it's impressive. So, guys, Coach Megan, she's available. Well, very soon.
A fun story. I'll give you the inside scoop if you sign up. Just kidding. Maybe start coming.
I like it.
The links are in the description. If you're just joining, share this video, because at the end, I have the world's best question when they all say to you, this is a spoiler alert, this is a little teaser, so you guys stay. The best question. Oh, do you have any questions for us? I have the best one. I'm not going to tell you it now. Maybe these guys do too, but I have the best one. That's what I'm thinking right now. You probably never heard it. So, and then the other thing too, just on this topic before we throw it to Elijah, is to Megan's point, I recently found out that chemically and psychologically speaking, being nervous and being excited is the same feeling. So when next time you're nervous, if you focus yourself and realize, hey, this is exciting, right? That changes the whole dynamic of things. So try that out, especially on a job interview or a first date, like you're talking about. Elijah, yeah, right before we're about to pull up to the interview or we're driving there, are we doing anything, any advice finally before we arrive?
No, I don't really have any like prep stuff for that. I like to just totally not even think about the interview whatsoever. Once you're like 24 hours out, I kind of have this mentality where it's like, I'm as prepared as I'm going to be, and just do my best, and that's it. Like I don't really, I was never like a last minute studier for tests or anything like that. Just always like, well, I mean, we're here now, and whatever happens. So I don't know, that's the way I do it. I think that that could help some people, just having that mentality of not thinking about it at all, doing something to completely distract you from it, could be very good, because then you show up and you're just talking to a person. That's all an interview is. So and don't build it up to be something more than that in your mind.
And so that's a very nice segue into the next point, which is you're just talking to a person. So before we kind of talked about how you want to have your resume, your clothing, your mindset, and your overall vibe going there, so there's no chinks in your armor, so you get the best results. And then talking to people, right? First of all, as Elijah said, it's no big deal. You're just talking to some dude, right? Or a chick or whoever, right? You're just talking to somebody. And these are answers that right? You know where you worked, right? And you're on a little sheet too. There's a cheat sheet. So it's you're talking about yourself. But then the next point here is kind of how you arrive at the interview, but also there's a higher craft to talking with people, right? So there's little things that you can do to be better at talking. I'll throw a couple of things out, and then maybe we can go to Coach Megan on this, and then jump over to Elijah. But one of the things you want to have good posture, but if you can lean back a little bit, that's good, right? Because not too much lean back, but if you're lean back, you're sub-communicating to yourself that you are relaxed, right? And you're going to feel more relaxed. Obviously, like I said, you want to have good eye contact. You want to be enthusiastic. You want to greet people with a firm handshake and a smile. You speak clearly, confidently, right? But then also like the way you talk, right? Some people, right? And I'm guilty more than anybody of this, right? But when you're talking to somebody, almost some people can ramble on, and it's tough to sometimes gather our thoughts when we're in the moment and we have a lot to say. But when you're talking back to people, for the most part, the same thing like here on YouTube, I'm not doing a great job of it, but I try to do it as a book report. Okay, here's my thesis, right? Here are a couple of supporting examples. And again, here's what I'm saying. And then lastly, I would say is the active listening part. You really want to like look at somebody's eyes. And then when somebody moves their hands or gesticulates, I've had a couple of different people say, I could tell you were a good listener, even though I really wasn't listening. I just watched the movement of the hands. It looks like you're following what they're saying. And then at the end of what they're saying, kind of just repeat back to them in different words. So you're saying this? Okay, cool. And so that you're pretty much covered there. But as far as that, I kind of just gave a basic overview. But Coach Megan, when you get to the interview in general, any ideas about how the interactions and how you want to behave there?
I like a lot of the points that you brought up, so I wanted to echo things like that. But I definitely believe in being enthusiastic, maybe not too much. And I like the leaning back thing because I've been told once that if you're leaning forward too much, it can be a little intimidating to the other person. So there's a balance between those two. I also agree with repeating the statement, and that gives you time to pause. So if someone asks you a question, you have it just like breathe and think about it and think about what you need to say before you say it. Because I'm someone that often just talks before thinking, which is fine if that's the job that you want. But a lot of times, like you said, you can get in your head and kind of talk about something else instead. So I think there's definitely room to be enthusiastic and but try to be as calm and clear as you can be, and the eye contact. And I think you can assess the person as well. Like maybe some people are more chill or less chill. Maybe you need to amp it up, connect with the level that they're on, like maybe if they're really friendly and hyper, get on that level, or if they're not, kind of match it because it might be overwhelming. So I think those are some of the points that I am thinking about in terms of when you're in the interview.
Coach Megan, you bring up a great point too, and it's also something that kind of Elijah harped on earlier too, which is we've all been like in a retail setting or somewhere where like, oh my God, I love your shoes, and it's like really fake, right? And they're not telling you that it's real, and it's just like a false compliment, right? And don't do that, right? You don't want to do that, right? If you have you don't want to give a false compliment on anything, right? But you can look at social cues. Let's say you're being interviewed, and the guy over there's got a Yankees bumper sticker, right? You can maybe rib him and say you're a Red Sox fan or something like that, right? Or, look for a genuine commonality, and that's cool, right? That's fine. But definitely don't press like a hard compliment on somebody. You don't want to do it. But if you do see, and this is where you try to be aware, like, okay, you look at the little things that they have on the desk. Maybe he's a golfer, you like golf, something like that. I don't know. I hate golf. I think golf is a waste of space, but whatever. Look for that common thing, and then if you can have a genuine connection. If not, you're right, Coach Megan. Understand like what's going on, and find a way to connect. But if not, definitely don't press it. Elijah, what's your thoughts on this topic here?
So the first thing I want to say is like a lot of people get wrong when the interview starts. A lot of people think that the interview starts when their name gets called, they walk into the room, and that's like, no. And now you might be thinking like, oh yeah, that's right. The interview starts as soon as you arrive at the building. Like, you got to make sure that you're being professional and acting professional in the waiting room or whatever, or while talking to the receptionist or, you're being cordial and polite and you're not being rude, that kind of stuff. And it's like, the interview starts as soon as whoever's involved in the interview process notices that you exist. Now, when does that happen? We don't know. It could happen in the parking lot when you drive into the parking lot like a maniac, right? And then park like sideways and take up 2 spaces, right? It could start then, right? If somebody notices that, your goose is cooked, right? So while you're approaching the building, even down the street from the building, that's when you should, like, you don't know who's in traffic with you, right? You don't know the guy that you honked at isn't the interviewer, right? So make sure that you are like presenting yourself well all the way up to the lead up of walking in the building, driving up to the building. Even your car, like make sure like your car looks nice. Like if you show up and your car's like all disheveled and stuff, there's garbage flying out of your car when you open the door. If people might see that from the window, or people might be in the parking lot with you. So make sure that you're at least somewhat put together. You don't have to go too crazy with it. I'm not saying go get like a new wax job or something every time you have an interview. I'm just saying like don't embarrass yourself either in those respects. Now,
I just before you get to that point, I mean, you make me think of something that we kind of miss right now. If you still have that point written there, but maybe we could even take it back further before we end off with the few other things we're going to talk about. This is 2025 here, and I would love Coach Megan's ideas on this too. Your social media presence too, because let's face it. I mean, people will just Facebook you, Google you, and that's another thing. And so maybe you guys can also elaborate on that as well.
Yeah, if you're not using sock accounts at this point, it's 2025. Like you're just, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Like your real social media account should not have your real name on it. Like don't do that. That's crazy. That's my 2 cents. I don't care.
Talk about that, Coach Megan, before we let Elijah finish his point, because I think this is a big topic here, and not everybody is as clever as making a fake email or doing, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't do that. So for the people that don't do that, Coach Megan, what would you suggest?
Okay, so we're talking social media.
Yeah, just in the case, or yeah, if you're interviewing for jobs, I mean, let's face it, people will be looking up your social media if they can, and your Google. They're maybe not supposed to, but they'll do it anyways. So do you have any best practices about that, or any do's and don'ts as far as that goes?
Well, I think there definitely should be some uniformity across all your pages. Like everything should be, you should kind of imagine it like as if anyone would see this, I would be okay with that. I think LinkedIn definitely should be more. I'm definitely a person who reaches out to the manager on LinkedIn and communicates before, make sure that my page is good. I agree with Elijah as well, like having maybe maybe focusing Instagram. If that's more social, maybe not posting as much, maybe posting more there versus, on Facebook, depending on the demographics. I just feel like social media is important. But at the same time, I think you should make sure that you're aligned with it. Like your persona should be similar to your social media. So I think someone should meet you and then look at your page. Oh, that makes sense, and vice versa. I feel like if it's like opposite, that might be like a cause of concern. And I think you should be. And if you don't want to be found on certain things, I think you should, maybe do that ahead of time, like make yourself private or block or things like that. But at the same time, just remembering to use that for the better, like maybe not posting, a keg stand video like on LinkedIn.
No, you make it about just keeping it congruent, right? And especially if you are somebody that is looking up how to ace an interview and trying to better yourself, you're going to want to do that. And that's why I deleted the videos of my Juggalo rap career, and you guys will never find those. Getting back to Elijah, though, I'm sorry, my apologies to interrupt, but I did think that's an important topic to talk about, because nowadays you can't separate the two. But my apologies, Elijah. Please, if you want to continue.
I'm sorry, just to make this point stronger. If you are one of the people who who just have like your name on social media and you don't have sock accounts, get sock accounts. I'm sorry, this is just crazy. Like being on social media, like, look, that's fine.
Maybe
It
you should
depends on
define what stock accounts are. Maybe
a
not
stock
everyone knows
account is
that.
an account where that you use, but it doesn't have your name. That's it. It doesn't have pictures of you. It doesn't have anything like that, right? And so that way, it's not traceable to you. You can use social media how you want. Your friends and family know it's you. Like my brother's name on Facebook for a long time was Andrew Schmandrew, right? Like that was his stock account, right? So if you look up Andrew Greco, right, you get nothing, right? It's Andrew Schmandrew, right? And everybody knows him, no big deal, right? So, but the point is that it's like in this day and age, it's like, okay, it depends on what you want to use social media for. If you don't like to use social media, that's fine. But to limit your life on social media to what is going to be professionally acceptable is just, it's a weird thing to do, I think. Like use social media how you want. If you want to share, you know, risque memes that have like jokes in them and use foul language, just make a sock account. Don't do it with your real name. It's stupid. Make a sock account. That's my point.
Yeah, totally agree. That's a good point. Ben, continue on the other point that you were making. My apologies.
Um,
Going through a list of things there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I would just like to really highlight smile, eye contact, and enthusiasm, right? That's really important. There's another thing, right, is I always like this kind of idea. It's like you should be a thermostat, not a thermometer, right? And so this idea is like a thermometer reads the temperature of the room and then it shows that temperature, right? That's what a thermometer does. A thermostat can change the temperature of the room, right? And so that's what you want to do, is right? Like, and again, you don't want to be over the top with this, because if you just like go in and everybody's kind of being like very professional and stiff and you're just like over the top making jokes and like you're going to stick out in a bad way, right? But you can like look at what the temperature of the room is and raise it 2 degrees. That's it, just 2 degrees. So you're making like it's a noticeable impact, but nothing that's going to like turn somebody off, right? So be a thermostat, not a thermometer.
Yeah, my bad. Go ahead, Coach Megan. You have another point to make on this?
Oh no, I was just saying handy dandy quotes from Eli.
Yeah, right. That's why you're gonna have to take both Eli and Megan's courses here, guys. You're gonna get the best of both worlds. So they always ask you the question, and they say, "Okay, do you have any questions for us?" And my favorite is, let's see if this works on Coach Megan. Let's see if Coach Megan will hire me. Yeah. So 1 year from now, what would the ideal employee have to be done to have to do to be considered a successful hire and have them went above and beyond? And what that does is it makes them think about what that would have to be. And then you're sitting right in front of them. So they're envisioning you in their head doing that job and going above and beyond, so you can slack off a little bit extra, because in their head they think, no, just kidding, don't do that. But yeah, so the cool question to ask them, what's your feedback on that, Coach Megan? Love it, hate it,
love it. And I think it's similar to a question that I always ask too. I always ask something like, in terms of growth after X amount of time, what would you say I should have achieved by then? Or what should I have what's a challenge that I could expect to have seen by then, things like that. So I definitely agree with having them think forward. Go us. Yeah. So I think maybe we can tie in the best question, but we have to ask Eli's question too.
No, I think,
I mean, I don't know. I actually knew that question a while ago. I've seen it before, but it's a good one. I think it is a good one. I like to kind of ask intricate questions about like the business model or something. I like doing that, and I like, it depends on how the interview goes. So like if I'm very conversational in interviews, so a lot of times like things kind of get brought up, and I'll be like, so you had mentioned this, and it seems like you're a little bit like, you know, you have some trepidation about this part of the job, like, and I'll ask like, so what's like the big problem there, like what goes into that? So I like to ask questions like that. And while we're on this thing, it's not really like a question thing, but like a lot of times a question that they'll ask will be like what are your like biggest strengths or something?
oh, yeah.
And the clear like win here is saying I work too hard. right? No, no, I'm joking. That's the worst thing that you could possibly say. So no, what I like to say is that I say like, look, something that differentiates me from other people in the workforce in general is the fact that I focus on what I can control. I see a lot of people focusing on things that they just cannot control. And there are just 4 controllables in life. You can control your work ethic. You can control your student mentality. You can control your associations, and you can control your enthusiasm. Anything that's not those 4 things in the workplace, you shouldn't focus on at all. And when you say that, like, employers love that. They eat that up. So those are the 4 controllables, right? Those are the 4 things that you can control. If you're doing anything other than that at work, if you're focusing on anything that does not fall under those 4 categories, you're messing up anyway. So,
Elijah, that just wowed me, and you're doing pretty well so far. But what are your biggest weaknesses, Elijah?
my biggest weaknesses?
Yeah.
So I don't know, like I'll ask, I'll say whatever it is. Like me personally, I have OCD, right? So if I'm doing anything that's detail oriented, you want somebody else on that because I will spend all day on that, right? Like you don't want me on something that's like tedious tasks. I get anxious. I don't like it. I've done very well throughout my life to minimize my OCD. When I was a kid, I was very, very bad with OCD. But as I've gotten older, I've come up with like ways to kind of get around it. So I'm not terrible with it. I can like cut in rooms while painting and stuff nowadays. Before that was like something I couldn't do, but still it's not my strength. Definitely not my strength. Like if it's anything that's tedious, I get anxious. I spend way too long on it trying to perfect like every little thing. And if it doesn't need to be perfect, when it's something like tedious like that, don't put me on it because I like to say I'm meticulous, but it's OCD. That's all it is.
So what would you recommend before we throw it back over to Coach Megan? What would you recommend for people that don't have that as a specific weakness? What's a good thing to say without being too cliche?
So, I mean, be honest and be like reflective about it. Like actually like have some introspection. Think about it beforehand. Like if you struggle with that question, actually think about what's my real weakness. And then think about ways that you can either overcome that and mention those, right? So you like if you show that you're like working on like overcoming it, like I made mention, like, listen, I've come a long way with my OCD, right? I still recognize it's a problem of mine, right? Like if you like what they're looking for is self-awareness when they ask that question. So be self-aware.
Well, Elijah, I think you did a great job here today, and I thank you for your time. But the fact that you're so willy-nilly about research, I think we're going to go in a different direction. But no, that's a good point as well too. And then at the end too, yeah, Coach Megan, what would you say about strengths and weaknesses? Any thoughts on that?
Echoing what Eli said, I feel like you should think strong about what you want to say. And when you're talking about weaknesses, always make sure that you follow up with how you're working on it, like you said. And then for strengths, making sure you don't sound pompous about it. And then always trying to bring it back to the relevance of the job and maybe thinking about an example of how you could use that strength. So if one of my weaknesses is I won't quit, so I'll keep working at something until it's done. And I could say, maybe one good thing about that is that I persevere, but at the same time, I need to be able to ask for help, rethink, refocus, shift where I need to be going next to not waste more time. So I feel like being able to know what those are, but playing them in a more neutral light is important.
I think, you may have just concocted something really cool because a lot of times our greatest strengths are also our greatest weaknesses. And if you can have the self-awareness, like you said, and Elijah mentioned to say that and how it's the pros and cons and it's something you're working on, I think that's a great answer that can circumvent both of them. So yeah, I'm going to steal that one, Coach Megan. So watch out, Brooks brother.
Yeah, I think it's so important to seem real because you are real and you want to be yourself in the interview. and you want to be yourself at the job, and they should be able to get the clear picture of that without, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is a good segue to just like that thing I had mentioned briefly is like you don't want to be yourself at an interview or a first date, by the way. You want to be the best version of yourself, right? And if you want to imagine like how you might like achieve that best version of yourself every single day if you get this job, that might help you too, right? Because then you'll go in there like being like, no, this is the new me, and I think that would be a very positive mentality to bring into an interview. But you want to be the best version of yourself. One of the best pieces of advice I've gotten about like job interviews and stuff was actually like, it was like my career. I had to take a stupid career counseling like class when I was in high school, going back way too long ago. But anyway, Mrs. Brunel, I'm pretty sure that was her name. She had said like, look, anytime you're asked a question in a job interview or on a questionnaire, right? Always put at the end of the question at work, right? It's like, do you like getting a lot of time off at work? No, I don't. Right? Like, do you like everything is at work? You just add at work because it's what you do at home is none of their business, right? So everything that they're asking you has a professional slant to it. So just add that in your head. Any question they ask you at work, right? So when I say like the 4 controllables and stuff, right? It's like that's at work, right? Those are the 4 controllables at work. Those 4 things. I mean, those things you could do some mental gymnastics and say they cover everything in life, but I mean, but that's mostly a professional advice, right? So at work, that's what's important. So yeah, that's what I would say. And then another thing is, I think a lot of people have a problem self-promoting sometimes during interviews. Some people do it way, way, way too much, right? But and some people over embellish, and then everybody they're like, okay, this guy's like spinning some yarn here. He's not like real. He's padding his resume and stuff like that, right? But I think a lot of people have a problem with self-promotion. They lack the self-confidence. They kind of play down things that actually should be embellished. And when you're at a job interview, you should be embellishing. And so I want to bring up this quote that I remember. There was like this old Twitter account. It might have been Twitter. It might have been like, I don't know. This is going way back to the early days of social media. There was a very popular social media account called Stuff My Dad Says. That wasn't the actual name, but it was Stuff My Dad Says. And it was like very funny quotes. And they were just like one-liners. And I don't know if they were actual things that his dad said or if it was just things that he came up with. But one of the quotes that always stuck with me because there's so much wisdom behind it, and stick with me, it really is a profound quote, is you don't just whip it out and tell everybody to go get a ruler. You stuff your crotch and you keep your pants on, right? So now why, I know it's a funny quote, right? But why, why is there so much wisdom in that quote, right? And it's because like, yeah, sure. The reality is like vulgar, right? Reality is vulgar in certain circumstances. If you're at home or like at the beach, maybe being naked is acceptable. If you're at the beach in Germany, for instance, it's acceptable, right? But or a nude beach or something, right? Like, but that's reality. And then people accept that. But when you're at a job interview and you're not embellishing, you're basically naked. You are being vulgar. Okay. A job like your clothes are embellishment because that's what you're supposed to do at a job interview. That's what people expect of you at a job interview. And so if you are not embellishing at least a little bit, they go, wow, like this guy's not impressive. This person's just like, they don't have confidence. They don't like, it comes off as a very vulgar thing to an interviewer. It's like, does this person even want the job? Like they're not trying to sell themselves at all. So that's the point there.
I want to piggyback on that real quick, Elijah. One of my mentors said, "You as a man, you only have yourself as a brand, right? And so as men, as we want to go out and conquer the world and be the tops at whatever fields that we choose to be, you have a brand, and that's what you're known by. And the first brand starts with what you wear, right? And then the next part about it is what you say and what you do, right? So I'm sorry, I was losing my train of thought there. So yeah, so you should always be on this level of trying to present your best self forward, because you never there's one of my mentors, he says you should never leave your house without looking your best. You never know if you're going to run into the girl of your dreams. You never know if you're going to meet some guy at the coffee shop that's pitching some business idea that you just know how to fit right in. And so in general, bringing it back to what Elijah's talking about, you're a salesman, right? You, as a man, you have to be a salesman, right? You have to sell yourself. If you're going to approach a woman and you want to take her on a date, you have to sell yourself on them. Same thing on a job interview. You have to tell them, here's why you should hire me. Look, I've done this. Here's how my skills translated into me doing this in the past. I showed up early. I'm well dressed. All the things that we talked about. So I guess the last point on this is kind of like the follow-up email. It's kind of basic. Do you guys want to kind of riff on that a little bit? Megan, why don't you take us through the follow-up interview, and then any other thing you can think of from after the interview?
Sure. So I think, again, echoing both of your points, really make yourself known and embellish yourself. Sell your best self while you're there. Think about it as, I don't want to have any regrets. If this is my last chance, like if this was, all that I have, how would I make sure I want to be remembered? Things like that. And coming out of that interview, I think as soon as you're able to, while it's still fresh in your mind, email if you want to go the extra mile, send a letter, or maybe do both because the letter might take too long. Just reiterating, thank you for your time, the opportunity, highlight that you have like the passion and skills to do that. You were that the time confirmed that you have the passion and skills to be able to see this job through. Maybe add a personal note, like you said, think about what they had on their desk or how you connected in some way. Bring that back up so they can remember you, and show initiative. Like, when can I follow up, or when can I expect to hear from you? I would do things like that and just make sure that you do it sooner than later so that they remember you, and try to include some kind of nugget that would make you memorable, the way that you should have made yourself memorable in person, whether that was like a quote or that question you dazzled them with. Definitely try to convey that same aura in the follow-up email.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. That's very important. Remind them of something you did that helped them. First of all, like you said, stand out in the first place. Do something to stand out, and then bring that up again so they remember. Great points. Elijah, yeah.
Yeah. So what I would say is that, and this kind of goes back to the resume. I meant to say this when we were talking about resumes, is like the shorter, the better. And like, here's the thing, especially if somebody's interviewing a lot of people, you got to make sure that you're being respectful of their time. And there is like, when you're communicating, there's like a whole bunch of like, there's so many different like ways that you're communicating. Your appearance communicates. Like if you're trying to sell something and, like somebody's like trying, like, okay, they'll take a quick pitch and then you start going on this long-winded diatribe about it, right? You're not being respectful of their time, and you're communicating, I don't care about you, right? And so even when I say thank you for like an interview, usually I say thank you for your time. That's usually what I say, right? So because like time is a commodity, and you spending time with somebody is actually kind of like a big deal. And so it's like this person's taking their time out of their day to interview you. They're taking their time out of their day to read your resume, probably not. And then they're taking their time out of their day, right, to read this email. And so it's like, okay, be respectful of that time. So my rule for emails is 1 page. I never hand somebody a resume that's longer than 1 page. And then my rule for like letters is just like, it's like you make them short, sweet, as short as possible, and you reference one thing that you talked about during the interview. It doesn't have to be like a big like reference, as long as there's like a reference to remind them like, oh yeah, this was this person. and let it be as unique as possible, right? But just reference it. And it's like, hey, like you would, whatever, whatever it is, there's the possibilities are endless, but just make one reference to something that happened in the interview to connect you to the thing and be mindful of that. And when they see that, they will say, oh, wow, like that person, like they're right to the point. They're direct. They cover things. They're respectful of my time. I appreciate that. So.
Yeah, I think overall we did a great job. I still think my question was not as good because Coach Megan actually like one-upped me with the question. So I think
we all work together. We all want to make each other.
And I'm gonna steal the other thing from Coach. So watch out, guys. So no, I think that was a really good too of a lot of the things, pretty much everything that you want to think about. And that's what we're doing here at Dancing Dragons and Dancing Dragons Live. Our job is to connect coaches and clients. And I say this every live stream until it gets old. If you get a tummy ache or you get in a car crash, you're going to go see a doctor. If you protest too loud and you get arrested, you're going to go see a lawyer, right? Your life, you only get one, that we know of, although there is some studies out of the University of Virginia that could point towards reincarnation. But even if that's true, we only still get this one. So get yourself a life coach. A lot of us, we don't have those mentors. Back in the day, you would be an apprentice, right? And you have some OG be like, oh, but this one's not going to work you around and stuff. They're just going to help you out. So it's really cool. Dancing Dragons Live. Share the video. We're going to be live again next Monday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to continue talking about things. I'm not sure of the topic yet. Me and Elijah are going to cook something up behind the scenes. We get really cool guests too. I want to thank Megan for joining. And yeah, I thank you guys for teaching me something. I get to learn something every time and just sit here and throw it to you guys. So appreciate it. Appreciate your time, Coach Elijah. And yeah, guys, go visit us in the description, share the video, share us on your social media feeds, and visit the website. And we'll see you next Monday, 3 p.m.
Yeah. And as always, remember to be excellent to each other, everybody. Peace out.
Bye.